Hello everyone, Scape here. Now I want to show you Dovahkiins Cabin. It's a simple mod from Fosnu. I am not going to dignify three names in one name, so I'm only going to call you Fosnu. Deal with it. Anyway, the mod author made this a very simple mod. He even made it similar. He, I really don't. Does it matter? No, it doesn't. Point is, it's much simpler than it used to be. Anise is literally gone, so it's no longer even Anise's cabin, it's just a cabin, and it has a much nicer aesthetic to it than before, as you can pretty easily see if you've ever even been to Anise's cabin. This is a vast improvement over the original. Now, a few things I want to talk about. First, I should go back in and show you the cellar is removed, as well as Anise. Now, this creates a couple of problems, but I want to talk about the ups of this first. So you have a wood chopping block, which was not present before. You actually have things in the garden. Things. Who would have fucking thought you would have things? I'm sure with more skill and effort you could put actual, if the mod author so desired, they could put, the Hearthfire garden, plots here, but that's really not necessary, to be quite honest. All you need is just what's needed to make health potions, and you're pretty much set. So, you also can see that there's a statue with no shrine, which is why I said nothing about it. But it also has, again, a much nicer aesthetic. It has a fire. All the storage, which is, again, protected. Of course, doesn't show up with a steel label, which might be off-putting to some people when they use Anise's cabin normally. But, really, for the most part, that's all that's really going for this place. It's just aesthetically better, right? But the problem is, it's functionally worse in every single way. And I want to make this a little bit more of a learning experience than being an asshole experience, so to speak. So, what made Anise's cabin good? Well, the best part about Anise's cabin is that it's really close to Helgen. So literally level 1, you can get an Anise's cabin, you can get protected storage, you can get an alchemy table and an enchanting table, all those in one spot, and a bed as well. So you can level those two skills easily in one spot and have storage, so you know everything's safe. You really aren't fighting anyone that's difficult, so to speak. I mean, geez, really easy to take down. Really easy to take down. And the biggest benefit is that you don't get access to close, it's hard to word this, but you don't have access to close enchanting, alchemy, and storage early on, or even sometimes to the mid game, so to speak. So it really ends up depending on when you buy a home for your character. And if you just use Anise's cabin, the vanilla one, then you don't really have any issues. But with this, it's a different story. Because it removes that alchemy table. It removes that enchanting table. So you're missing those two things. You have the protected storage. You have this wood chopping block. You have a random save. You have you know, a few ingredients that you can harvest for alchemy here, but you can't use those ingredients, and you can't use this wood other than to throw it in the storage that's in this cabin here, which, you know, because there's no crafting areas here, this doesn't serve a purpose. So it means you'd have to transport it to Riverwood or all the way up to Dragon's Reach, depending on where your situation is in the game itself. And that's kind of shitty. So I can't say that's a great thing. The cellar being there is kind of integral to the cabin actually being useful. So just on the cabin alone, if the basement was reintroduced, or a variation of it, you know, hell, you could create an entirely new one if you wanted. And I actually would kind of suggest doing so, because it's actually a glitch with one of the lights, which, even though it's gone in the creation kit, will be still in the game. And it's a shadow casting omnidirectional light, so that's going to create some problems, because you're going to have 4 on screen, even though there's not actually 4. It's a mess. Create your own, trust me. Anyway, point is, you will have a pretty fair house at that point again, because you'll have that basement that has all that function, and because now it's not tied to a niece, you can even add blacksmithing if you so please. Now the aesthetic, it doesn't matter. You know, it wouldn't break the aesthetic. A actual shrine here would be perfect instead of the bowl. That would be absolutely amazing. But that's not the case right now, unfortunately. But other than that, you correct those things, and suddenly this mod is now very much in my interest. Otherwise, I actually don't even want it installed on my game, because it's going to detract from it. It's not going to add to it. It's actually going to actively detract from it. That's not good. So when you take that and then compound that with other problems this mod introduces, yeah, things get kind of bad. So let's close the doors and let's toggle the free camera so we can get a look at what's going on. So of course, this is seriously how small the cabin is. Mod author did not have a lot of room to work with. But for some reason this pathway was made, and I have no idea why. First off, if you have convenient bridges installed, you will have a bridge right here which will lead you straight to Anissa's cabin, and it's the first thing you see. So you'll be drawn towards Anissa's cabin if you have this, because there's the stones, the 3 standing stones. And of course there's the other makeshift. There's the makeshift bridge, and there's the other bridge from the mod as well. Convenient bridges, I should say. And it's really a pain, because the bridge that the mod author put in doesn't make sense physically, it doesn't make sense aesthetically, and worse still, its positioning is literally as bad as you could get it while still maintaining... Okay, I was getting weirded out there. While still maintaining direction towards Anissa's cabin. So you can see it starts here near the entrance to the iron mine, which is, you know, right next to, you can see right here. Yeah. There's the guard, of course. So that's actually where it is. It's not by the standing stones, which is where a player is going to be, almost guaranteed. You're going to be drawn to that area. That area is set up like that, you know, even without the convenient bridges mod, intentionally to be that way, so that you are drawn to the area. But if you take a look here, one is pretty dirty terrain edits here, sharp corners. Normally there are rocks that go along this. I'm not sure if it's some mod conflict or something, but that could possibly be an issue. But regardless, this is a mess either way, because this does not make any structural sense. And if you take a look, the path to go to Bleak Falls Barrow is right here. The only thing that's telling you not to go to Bleak Falls Barrow is this little hint right here, which is, you know, it's open, and if you take a few steps forward, you know, before you would see the, you know, right before you would see the path over here, you kind of get guided across, because you see, like, oh, well, this is clearly a path here, and it's the most linear path you can actually physically make. So it's actually almost insulting in how linear the path is, so to speak, and how hand-holding the pathway is. Now, a much more sane placement for that bridge would have been somewhere around here, where I am auto-saving again, even though I disabled that with my mod, but whatever. But somewhere around here, where you would move these trees here off to the side, that way you would have a clear view that, oh hey look, cabin. And just making it more aware, or possibly even deleting the trees, making it more, making the player more aware that this cabin exists. And this distance to there is much shorter than the distance over here. It's probably half the distance. I would just guess half. And of course here, where the convenient bridges mod is located at, you can see that this is the logical extension where we actually have where you would put a bridge. But you know, if you already have convenient bridges or something like that, obviously you don't need that bridge over there. And honestly, I'd just say the mod author should strongly recommend the convenient bridges mod, just because this bridge exists, as well as the other bridges around here also exist, which are very useful if you're going to use Anis's cabin as your main house. So you can see that there are some flaws here, and by making these terrain edits and this unnecessary bridge, and you know, kind of, I guess you could say, failing to branch out to another mod, you know, we've kind of made a failure, because all we've, and not necessarily a failure of a mod, I mean, it technically is, but it achieved what it was doing, but it didn't achieve perfection, obviously. But it's just that all this stuff is not needed. It can be fine as it is in vanilla, and same can be said about you know, all the terrain around here. The only thing that needs to be changed if you want to change Denise's cabin is literally just the cabin. You know, the inside of the cabin over here, you know, create a new cell, make a entirely new, just trust me, even if the mod author, you are listening right now, even if you haven't tried messing with the cellar, don't. it's not worth it, man. It's not worth it. It's not. Make a new cell that's just mostly identical and use that instead, because obviously you're gonna have to change the aesthetic. Still use the Imperial. Yeah, just use the cell for reference, but obviously just put the latch back there so you can you still have that basement here that you can go to, or wherever you choose to put it, and that would make things so much nicer, and that would make it much better again. And again, you could then also put in blacksmithing stuff as well as the alchemy table and the enchanting table, meaning that it would be a fully fleshed out home. But otherwise, it is actually a stripped down home with a lot of unnecessary elements and a script that is now gone, that I'm going to have to load a number of saves back in order to not fuck up my game forever after I get rid of this mod. So, unfortunate, yes, I know, but true also. So, I hope that you've at least learned something from this one, because it's going to take a lot of effort. It always does. There's always things you just don't think about that make something what it is, and so you change something and it seems a perfectly reasonable change to you, and then suddenly it actually turns out to be not so reasonable, like this fence here. Just delete these two. If you're going to insist on this pathway, get rid of these two fences and continue the rockway, because there's nothing up here. And that's just the way it is. I don't know how else to say it. There's not much I can say in conclusion other than this mod subtracts more than it adds. So yeah, I hope this at least has given Boss New some direction with this one, because it has direction. It looks a lot nicer. I'm not about to go out of my way to make Niece's cabin look a lot nicer. Obviously, again, this needs to go. And if it was just functionally identical, as well as being aesthetically different, it would be perfect. And if it was just the cabin itself, just the cabin, it would be pretty much perfect. I would keep it in my for my downloads, and it would be one of those ones that it's just that one stray mod, so to speak, that you have that you can't explain otherwise why you have it, other than your playstyle. And also, if you want to make these in more reasonable places, see if I can pick it up with Jackson's positioner. These are a real pain. Okay, there we go. So now we can take a look at what happens when you actually move it to somewhere a little bit more reasonable, like up here. And you can see, obviously, this would be attached to one of these, and you can see that it would not clip into anything, which is quite nice. So again, if you want to have the flags, then, well, you might want to reduce it to one flag. I also want to change the flag. That's my personal opinion. The blue stands out like, well, I mean, that's Jackson's position. You're highlighting it in blue, but the blue stands out like hell. And of course, you'd probably want to put it somewhere else as well. Anyway, this has been as much advice as I could possibly try and condense. It's been multiple takes because there's so much to say. There's a lot of good things going for this. There's a lot of good things, but there's also a lot of bad things, and the bad outweigh the good. So for now, it's not going to be in my list. But maybe later on, maybe later on it will be. Anyway, it's been Skaith. I've been rambling, and I'm out.